Okay, we are here, Heavy Groove List, with pals Mick and Colleen. How you guys going?
Excellent.
Hey Dan, hey Mick, good.
Nice
How you
to
guys?
see you. Great. Finally, we get to have this chat. We've been wanting to do this for a little while now, and super happy we get to talk about music and the connections we had back in the day. We all went to school together, high school, and spent some time afterwards in the band days. And yeah, man, this is what this channel's all about, reminiscing about cool music and good times that all of us had. So what's been happening, man? You guys are busy, kids, careers, all that sort of thing. But still you got time for the tunes, which is cool.
Well, stopped listening to the Wiggles about 5 years ago, so
Nice.
rejoined the world. So maybe a bit longer.
Yeah,
We're kind of
fortunately,
out now.
we never got subjected to that. In fact, it was a pretty hard veto on the Wiggles for us. Fee hated it, and I hated it. So yeah, there was definitely none of that going on.
So you got him straight into Motley Crue. No, right past the Wiggles.
No, Jakey was sleeping in the back of the car to Justice.
Justice. Wow.
Yeah, when he was about 8 months old, like he would sleep, like, you know, because you know sometimes we'd have to drive up to Brizzy or whatever, and or even just driving around the coast doing whatever we need to do. He'd be in the back snoring his head off while I was cranking Justice. So I was trying, definitely trying.
That's good, man.
Does he like that now? Sorry, I'm going to take over your interview.
No, it's good. Jump in whenever you want.
The other day he was driving on Forza and he had his headset on and he was doing a little dance while he's driving away, running into people and all that sort of thing. And then he took his headset off and he actually had Megadeth Symphony of Destruction on his playlist in there, which was pretty cool. But then it morphed into Ariana Grande. So he has a very wide taste, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. He likes. He likes all. So I suppose a little bit like me. Like I like some of the poppiest of the pop ridiculous stuff, all the way through to the most ridiculously obscenely heavy death metal. And yeah, man.
Has he got?
I hear you.
Has he got any Cannibal Corpse on the playlist?
No, but he has listened to quite a bit of Carcass.
Ah, you're a fan of the new stuff, eh? The new album or the new song?
I haven't heard it yet. I read an interview with Bill Steer, the guitarist, but yeah, I've got to chuck it on. I was actually watching some stuff on YouTube, some Cannibal Corpse stuff on there, but yeah, he comes in and checks that out and doesn't say anything, says his piece, and then wanders off. He doesn't care, which is pretty cool.
I checked out the new song when you shared something the other day, and yeah, it's what you expect from Carcass. It's pretty cool. It's
sweet.
It's what you want to hear. So yeah.
What about you, Cole? What's the heaviest stuff you guys are cranking in your house?
Well, the house, if we included what Scott's listening to, that's a hell of a lot heavier than me. My limit's probably some Slipknot.
Yep.
Not all, but
yep.
yeah, a lot of it I like. It's got to have that right balance for me, which is that, you know, chaos and clarity. I love that sound that they put together. And early Stone Sour probably even more so. Yeah, I love that.
Is Stone Sour pretty much your favourite band when it comes to that kind of genre, like the heavy and the clean mix?
Yeah. They even like their most recent album is still a few years old. Probably not one of my favourites. Come here. Somebody wants to say hello. Say hello.
Hey.
Can you say hello? No.
Just shy. You want to be on TV?
You want to tell them how you like rock and roll? Oh, did you hear that? Paul going on 14. Slam the door.
He slams the door after rock and roll. That's cool.
Yeah, but that's for me. That's I don't really get the opportunity to hear a lot of new stuff. I try to make the time just to listen and get hooked in. If you listen enough, get the earworm. There's a lot of when I was going through some of the things I asked you about, like what we'd be talking about, what's the 10 albums you'd listen to over and over and I just have to look at my Spotify playlist. I'm doing it. I'm listening to the same things, But I think that's our it's almost our duty to bring that, not even all the new stuff, just the old stuff, so the next generation hears it.
Yeah.
Carry it through.
No matter what. Yeah. The older generation will always bring their music with them. And we always thought, with our parents, like, I know Mick, I know your dad was, he's a musician. He was into a bunch of cool stuff. My parents were into any contemporary stuff. They're just stuff that they kind of liked here and there from their own countries, but nothing like that. But, every generation's going to love their stuff and going to try and influence the younger ones, or at least get them to listen to it, like you said, Cole, because you don't want stuff just to fade away, and it never will really. But like you say, the more people that burn the torch high for this stuff, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
And it doesn't always resonate with everybody. It's like us, but with Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and things like that they weren't of our generation, but carry them through, don't you? If it resonates.
Good music's just good music,
It's timeless, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
I see. Sorry to cut you off, man, but I'm just seeing some of this, like the young guys now. The 17 to 25-year-olds now have some of them that they're so into some of that stuff, like you mentioned, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Beatles, and then nothing until whatever's been coming out in the last 5 or 6 years, and everything in between, they just have no idea about from those points.
Yeah,
there could be some subconscious bias there against their parents' generation as well.
Could well be.
I think that's but that's a shame, because there's a lot of good stuff there. Some of it is very, you can hear where it's from and when it's from, but a lot of it's timeless, isn't it? I don't know if it's just me. It doesn't feel old.
I see a lot of I guess like more in rock and metal stuff. I see a lot of people still listening to some of the stuff that's happened in the last 20, 30 years. They because it's over in that period where techniques have gotten, pretty, and people's technical ability on their instruments has gotten pretty full on. So, in more technical styles of music, I think that stuff is more celebrated, because that's when, a lot of really big progression happened with people's technical ability. So I see, a lot of people in newer bands are celebrating the stuff that I like, because there's very sort of athletic sort of guitar playing, high level of technical ability, whereas something like Nirvana is perhaps not as revered in those circles, because there was, it's the opposite. It's like almost a complete lack of or a perceived lack of ability, because it was really just, is it a good song or is it not? It wasn't about, how fast you could play it or whatever. So I don't know if you guys see that, but definitely with different styles of music, I can see where people will sort of do what you were saying, Dan, and they'll go back to the really big stuff and then forget about everything until, the current stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, with some of this more metal stuff, I suppose. There's a lot of people going on about 80s guitarists, and it's obviously there's a period in the 90s and the 2000s where that stuff was absolutely reviled. It was just it was like worse than satanic death metal. Like people just, oh my god, like Poison, Bon Jovi, Doc and Motley Crue, all that stuff is terrible. But all these guitarists, they're like, yeah, those players were sick. But the songs.
But where would sorry, Dan.
Right.
Where would you say with that, where you've seen the technical ability enhanced recently, in what way, and do you feel that it leveled out in the 90s or the early 2000s? Like, for someone like me who just likes a certain sound but can't identify that kind of technique and things like that, where would you say, who's playing where have they gone? Has it peaked or can it still peak? Because I can see it with and no offense to guitar, but I can see it in the drums in bands like Slipknot, and you can just add more drums and you can go upside down on the stage and things like that. And I see what you're saying, athletic guitarist, but you can't add more strength unless you're Richie Sambora. How do you go more technical?
Well, people are playing 7, 8, 9 string guitars. I've got a 7-string guitar myself, but that's. So there's like a very small section of the metal community that is super progressive, and they're always just looking for like the players there are just looking to do things that haven't been done before, and that's just what I'm aware of because I have an interest in that style of music, but I believe as a musician that happens in whatever genre of music, even so pop, you might say, well, okay, well, where's the technical progression happening there? So there's a period of time where all these records were done with auto-tune, so everybody would sing their parts, and then the producer would go in there and make it absolutely perfect. But now there's kids listening to that, and they're learning to sing to that.
Wow.
So just by virtue of trying to emulate something that, isn't a natural performance, their skill level and technique is just, and that's what's happening with these guitarists. They're listening to this stuff, or, just musicians, they're listening to this stuff at a very young age, and they're trying to emulate this really just like crazy stuff. So, they're just going to be ridiculously better. But I don't know if that makes the songs any better, though.
Well, it's all going to come together, doesn't it? It does. Some of them.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard that many songs that'll, sort of get me going, like Harvester of Sorrow. That's like, that's a good song, and it's pretty slow for a Metallica song. So, speed and that ability isn't everything, hey?
Just touching on the, what these kids' abilities and their skills are. I mean, we've all turned on YouTube and seen this endless stream of 9 and 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids like playing the most complex thrash and metal stuff, with their eyes closed and with their hands tied behind their back, like the skill levels are just like freaking out of this world now. Like, back when the master guitarists were doing it back in the 80s and 90s, everyone was impressed. But now, everyone's like, slightly impressed now if a 10 and 12-year-old kid can do it. And go, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't take away from the 10 and 12-year-old kids that can do that. But what I see as a parent in the community is a lot of kids kind of pushed into it. A lot of kids pushed into lessons. And then I look at the people I look up to as musicians, and most of them, a lot of them were self-taught. And I really respect that. I have so much respect for that. But I'm not a musician. As long as the passion's there in these kids, I'd hate I've got very strong viewpoints about kids in the limelight, things like that. So, yeah. But I mean, it's still a skill, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm not dissing them at all. I think it's freaking
I know,
amazing.
yeah.
But I just what, the skill levels and what's coming out now, and it's also the ability to share everyone's passion and their skills, and that's why so much of this is out there now. Who knows what was happening before YouTube and the internet really started? Whether there were kids around in the planet doing this kind of thing, and they were all just only their neighbours and their family knew about it, but now the whole world knows about it.
Oh, the neighbours knew.
For sure.
Hey, it's just tape trading. I think that's how like a lot of these bands got started, is just like doing demo tapes and sharing them with people. And that I was watching one of these YouTube Metallica documentaries, and they're talking about oh no, actually, sorry, that's wrong. It was a Cannibal Corpse one, and because obviously that style of music, only very few, it's not a huge audience. But when they started, they did a demo, and they were doing tape trading, and it went to South America and then to Europe, and then someone in the tape trading community sent their own demo back to him saying, "Hey, you got to check out this band," which is like that's pretty cool. He said when they received their like fourth or fifth or sixth generation demo back, and someone's going, "You got to check out this band," and it was from overseas, that's when he sort of thought, "Hey, we've got something here." Because it's more than just the handful of our mates that like it. So, I guess YouTube's a little more immediate than sending a tape to another continent.
That's exactly the same story from Pepper Keenan about Down.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much, they were sending their own demos out before Nola, way before Nola came out, like years before, and it came back to them as well. Yeah.
But that's like that's a pretty cool organic way to grow your audience. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like attention spans are much shorter these days. So like trying to get.
That depends. It's changing again. I've noticed very much so. They're spending a lot of time online in the last couple of years, especially on YouTube. If it's a subject matter people love, people are hungry for like 2, 3, 4 hour conversations, and they'll keep going to the next one about, it's really depending on what it is. If it's something no one's interested in, of course, there's no attention. But for stuff that people love, they're wanting more and more and more. And you're noticing now so many podcasts are getting longer and longer and longer in their conversations, because if it's a subject matter people are interested in, they just want to keep hearing more about it. So that's what I've been noticing in the last 12 months.
Isn't that ironic, given the internet and we've gone through that phase where, and especially in music, where albums are less popular and singles are more popular, from where I see it, from the things I've read about. And I like a good album. I like the songs no one's heard, So do you guys think, because of YouTube and because of the internet, that the record labels have become redundant, or are they still necessary, or are people only now getting recognised if they have X amount of followers on YouTube?
I think there's a twofold thing here. There, I think they're necessary in some aspects, maybe from a distribution point of view, and also depending on the genre or the type of music.
Yeah.
I think with other types of music, you can really do well independently, and maybe organise a distribution deal outside of a label, which I think independent companies are doing now, depending on how they're hooked up and who knows who within those chains of, in those industries. But I think obviously they don't have a bigger role to play anymore, but they're still raking it in from way back, man. Owning the masters for all this stuff that people that can't even own their own music. These companies have got it all and making billions off it.
It's really widespread, isn't it? It's a lot of people, a lot of bands.
And so many artists are doing their own platform stuff now, earning money that way, because through the streaming services, they're just getting completely gutted through that, not making anything off those, unless they're like massive.
Re-recording.
Yeah, unless they're massive bands that are already established. But look at Metallica; they're like the biggest metal band on earth, and they do everything on their own shoulders now, through their Blackened music label, their own thing.
Yeah. Motley Crue are the same. I think you'll find a lot of those bands have basically gone down that path where they've started their own publishing companies and distribution entities, and just taken their art back, which, when you think about it, why is someone entitled to make money off of your art forever just because you got effectively a bank loan off them and you paid it back? It's like it's like getting a mortgage and you pay it off, but the bank says to you, "That's sweet, but you still owe us forever because we gave you that opportunity." So,
it's basically the mob in suits, really, pretty much.
And you see so many of them bringing movies out now with their stories and how those suits are portrayed. You can see them, and just, I love that. That's where the internet has gone. That it's in the power of the people and not one guy behind a desk. In the Bohemian Rhapsody, I don't know how much truth is in it, but he's saying, that Bohemian Rhapsody was too long. So,
oh yeah, that scene when
it never worked. Mike Myers. It never worked.
They're arguing about the song in The Office. That scene in the movie.
Yeah.
But then it ended up being like, their biggest hit, even though they just stood their ground. Well, Freddie, according to the movie. Yeah.
Metallica were filling stadiums with no radio play, no MTV.
Yeah.
Well, very, very little radio play. Just a couple of stations in the US, no MTV, and they built their audience themselves, just through sheer hard work. It's obviously a different world these days because there's so much stuff trying to compete for people's attention. But I think that the ethics still, or the idea, still stands, that you can build something yourself without, someone else having to tell you how to do it or what the right thing is to do. You make your own mistakes, and you can still build it as big as you want, because there's a lot of these like Ola Englund, metal guitarist from Sweden, he's got his own YouTube channel. He's pretty massive. I like the dude. He's pretty funny, great guitarist, like his bands and stuff like that. But he has, his whole life is sort of built around the content he chucks up. But he also builds his own guitars. He's got his own company and he builds his own guitars, and quite successful with that, as well as his music, as well as his YouTube. So I guess if you have that opportunity to invest that, it took him 8 years to get to that point, but if you can invest that time, then you can build that. So your comment before about are music companies relevant? I agree that for some music it is definitely. The pop genre is definitely still, the record companies still run that, pop, R&B, all that sort of thing. It's big studios, big companies, with groups of people that they just sort of rotate through. But everything else, I think pretty much everything else people just do by themselves. Hey.
I think they have to. I don't know what it's like down there for you guys, but if I put Triple M on here, I don't hear any new music. It's supposed to be the rock station. And there's nothing new. We're listening to Chisel still, even though Bon Jovi, nothing against them. But there's new music out there. There's new rock music, and they're not bringing it to the people. But they're actually up here. I have my theories on why they play the things they do.
Triple J.
Less with that progress.
Yeah, Triple J is much more likely to play new Australian music than anyone else, really. All the community stations like Triple Z and stuff, like they'll still put new stuff out there that's coming through. But all those classic stations, you hardly get it. Ratio of new music is very slim, very small.
You can nearly set your clock by when you're going to hear K-San.
Or Robert Palmer. I don't even know how he fits in.
What's your beef with Robert Palmer? I like Robert Palmer.
Because you don't live in central Queensland. It's guaranteed. I don't listen to a lot of, it depends what I'm doing, depends what mood I'm in. But, you can guarantee if I've got an hour that I'm in the car and I am listening to it, yeah, you're right, K-San and Simply Irresistible.
Right. What I want to know is what's the back in when we were finishing up high school, early 90s, like what was the stuff that you were just majorly into at that point, music wise? What was exciting you that you can remember?
What are you saying?
Metallica. But I was into pop too. Metallica. Pop.
What kind of pop were you into? I want to know, like, everything. The Heavy Groove list is not just about heavy music; it's about everything that moves you musically. So, what other cool shit were you listening to besides Metallica? And
There would have been for me. There would have been. I'd have to pull my CDs out. They're in a box. I don't even have a CD player at the moment. It's a tragedy. But Oasis wouldn't have been around then. Maybe a bit later.
I think they were. Or were they later?
I think like late 90s, 98-ish, I think.
They were a bit later, were they?
Yeah.
When I was into them, U2, INXS.
Nice.
Definitely U2. Yeah. That was my first album. Was the CD that I ever bought was Axon Baby and Martika at the same time. So
which one?
Yeah.
Martika.
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 What was that big hit she had?
She had Toy Soldiers.
That was massive. Yeah.
It was. Yeah, and that was a good album though. Although I have listened to it in the past few years, so good. Better off with my memories.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't resonate as much as it did with a 15, 16-year-old me. So, what about you, Mick?
I was just sort of getting into thrash. So for me, just before we moved up to Queensland, I had heard Anna Sandman on the radio, and I had not heard anything like that before. So I mean, we used to have school excursions, and on the way back from Melbourne, the teacher would grudgingly let kids put their tapes on, and there was this one kid who chucked And Justice for All on, and he loved it, and I heard it, and I hated it. I just thought it just sounded shit. I'm just like, that does not sound like Hysteria. I was like,
Hysteria. Sorry, I want to add that to my list from back then. So
I had just gotten into so I went from Dire Straits, Cliff Richard, and
nothing wrong with Cliff back then.
A whole bunch of stuff.
You have roller skates, Mick?
No, I didn't. No. No, and I would have been rounder than the wheels. So I was listening to that stuff, you know, which is what my parents' records collection were, and then this kid that I met, he gave me Hysteria, which was just, I'd never heard anything like that before, and I went back and said, man, you know, what else have you got that's like that? And so he gave me my first, this is all just like copies, gave me a WASP album, which I just immediately loved, and Poison and Motley Crue. So that was the stuff I was listening to, and I'd never heard anything like that before, and just amazing. Just
Poison was great. Poison was really good. Yeah, nothing but a good time. Yeah.
That stuff sort of got me interested in, like, what is that sound? What's making that sound? Oh, that's the guitar. Oh, okay, right. So I started actually. I think my old man, he tried to teach me how to play guitar prior to that, but like, no. But then this kid at school showed me how to play Smoke on the Water on one string, and that was it. I came home and I'm like, Dad, can I use your guitar? And I drove everyone nuts.
He must have been pretty proud though.
No, I think I'd really pissed him off by that stage because it was just the same riff over and freaking over. But anyway, from that,
every parent have the same story, man. So that's all.
But coming up here, I heard Enter Sandman, and so subsequently got the Black album, and strangely enough, hated all the rest of them except Ride the Lightning. That was awesome. So I was listening to the Black album and Ride the Lightning, and then somehow, I think I bought it from Nerang because I like the cover. I bought Testament album, Souls of Black, and basically, so really at that time, that was me just getting into thrash and metal in general. But I still loved pop songs. But you know. They're pretty cool.
I remember when I first met you when I walked into form class in year 11, and because I had been to another school at the start of year 11, and then I came back to Nerang High, and then when I met you in form class, and you were listening to Suicidal on your Walkman, and I always thought it was the Art of Rebellion, but it wasn't, because I looked it up not long ago, and it came out after we met, so it must have been the album before that, and which I can't remember which Suicidal album would have been.
It's the one with You Can't Bring Me Down on there, yeah.
Oh, Lights, Camera, Revolution.
Revolution, yep.
And that's probably, sorry. I should have known that, because that's probably my favourite Suicidal album, but I wasn't sure the order of sequence they released stuff in. But, yeah, man. When I saw you listen to that, and I thought, yeah, man, we've got to start checking out what other music this guy's into. I think I remember even on our first week that we met, I asked you whether you played any music or played guitar or drums or anything like that.
Yeah,
Did
man,
you play
I
drums
guitar.
You guys are the real cool kids.
I was playing drums from year 7 or year 6. Yeah, year 7, year 6.
Yeah, because you and Ross did didn't you guys do like a band thing at school?
We did this. Yeah, man. Man, I wish I knew the science teacher's name. You guys might remember him. Beard. He had a brown curly hair and a beard, and he played bass guitar. And he did the rock band. He actually started the rock band thing at Nerang High that people used to do at lunchtime.
That wasn't Mr. Buck Bartis, was it?
Not Buck Bartis, nah. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. It was someone else. McLaughlin rings a bell. Do you remember any science teacher called McLaughlin? No,
I only had Mr. Buck Bartis for science.
Okay, anyway, whatever. But anyway, he kicked off the whole rock band thing, and then there was a lineup like down the end of the freaking oval to get into rock band because everyone wanted to jam when it was sport time instead of doing whatever else. So there was a bit of wheeling and dealing going on to get into Rock Band. I remember that, but we managed to squeeze our way into it. Which you did too, didn't you, man?
No.
You didn't. No, it was other kids. All right.
I would sneak in there at lunchtime, like at year 12, and I, year 12. No, year 11. I think it was still going, and I would see all those people who could actually playing, and I would just go back home and just do my thing in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I never knew this was happening. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
What were you doing? Hanging out with the cool kids on the Oval?
I was not one of the cool kids.
Weren't smoking
Doing my
cigarettes
thing.
behind the pecan trees. No?
Sounds like the cool kids when they're playing Rock Band. So
Remember they used to let people play their own music at lunchtime sometimes when they had the school radio thing going on.
Yep.
And all the tough guys would bring in their death metal CDs, and like you'd get through half a song and then the teachers would come and like turn the shit off.
It was always Lanigan trying to get some shit on there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of dudes. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, always trying to play Cannibal Corpse and D-side and stuff, and then it would just get scratched after like 2 verses or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
on a tape.
What's that?
On a tape. Not a CD, tape. Cassette tape.
I think, yeah, either or. Either or back then. Yeah.
I still have some tape.
Me, I hardly got I got a handful, but who knows what condition they're in. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Carl? You got a bunch of tapes?
No, I actually remember getting rid of them. It was quite ceremonial.
Okay.
We don't have them. I've got albums, vinyl, and CDs still. Just
What
waiting
did you
to
do?
build.
Did you light a bonfire and throw them in or something?
No, I think they just went on a tip run. It's a bit sad in hindsight. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was under the influence of somebody else, sparking joy. But it was a long time ago. I don't think there would have been too much good stuff on there. Yeah, all my CDs are pretty cool. So.
What was your first concert? What your first concert was?
I'm going to say Bon Jovi. It was probably Mental as Anything in Stanthorpe.
Oh, cool.
I think the first big one was Bon Jovi up at Brisbane in about
I don't know.
grade 11. So
Mental Anything is pretty big. That's a cool band to see first.
that was huge. And I think I've still got the ticket in one of my albums. It was like $55 or something, which is crazy. You know, the blue and yellow Ticketek. And yeah, because that was huge for us because, you know, coming from being in the army, the Gold Coast was the closest we'd ever been to the city. So it was a big thing for me, up to the nosebleeds. I still haven't been in the front row for John Bon Jovi. I'm not that into them anymore, but I'll still go back if I pay $1,000 for my platinum seat. But they make you sit down. They don't let you stand up at a Bon Jovi concert. It's crazy.
Really?
I'm more comfortable in a mosh pit. So, yeah.
Comfortable in a mosh pit. They're two words that don't necessarily always go together.
But they should. Even I can't sit when there's good music on. I can't sit.
I almost died the first time I went into a mosh pit. Sepultura mosh pit, 1994. Right in the middle, first mosh pit. Like the worst place to be.
Slipknot played in Brisbane on my birthday in 2016, and I was not allowed to go because I was about 30 weeks pregnant and never been to probably not the safest place. Mum to be. Yeah, so that was a bit sad, bad timing. I've been to a Pearl Jam concert pregnant. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And INXS.
And INXS, yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was.
So here's a
What
question.
year would that have been? Me? 2010? Was that Sian? Yeah, 2009.
2009, I think. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
So do your kids who you were pregnant with at those two concerts, are they into those bands now?
See, Zane's really into rap, I've just discovered, but you wouldn't hear it. I never hear it. So he doesn't, they don't have the loudspeakers that we would have had when we were kids. And I've only just become privy to it. And I'm doing some investigating to see if I like them. I don't know what he's listening to. But the little ones, you know, they're into the heavier stuff, the rock stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. I've got a few videos of the 4-year-old, and I remember Nicola, she's the eldest, she's 17, and she used to sing Never Tear Us Apart, you know, dun, 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 dun. And she'd just know the line and she'd sing it. So I tried that for the youngest one the other day, and she goes, too boring, more rock and roll. And she wanted heavy.
Right.
She wanted heavy. So gave her some Metallica.
There she is.
Yeah. What was that? She's got her headphones on. So not yet, but time will tell. I think Nicola takes a lot of pride in knowing about the bands so she's got a lot of friends. She's played music all through school as well. So a lot of mates. So just how she talks about them reminds me of you guys and the guitarist at school and the musos at school. And they're still playing the same stuff. You know, they're into Metallica and they're into Gunners and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. So, yeah, and then the 17-year-olds, yeah.
What was your first concert, Mick? Was it one we went to, or did you guys something before that?
Pantera.
Oh, Pantera was first. Holy cow. That's one hell of baptism of fire up there in the front row of the pit with the screaming of Keenan gone.
So never allowed to go to a concert prior to that, and even basically at school, never being allowed to go on a school camp until a year 12 leadership camp at Nerang, and then get out of school. And the first thing that came through that I wanted to see was Pantera, and I had no freaking idea what I was in for. No idea.
How old were you?
What tour was that? That was Far Beyond.
That was 94, so the year after we got out of school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So what's that? What would have been 18 turning 19. Yep. So it turned up. Yeah. Would have been like all the 70 kilos, just like thinking, oh yeah, I'm a really big fan of this band. This is going to be sick. And then when the lights went down and they came on, and the place just changed. It was just like boom, and I was like, what the fuck happened? And it was awesome, you know, like just so much intensity, the energy. And I vividly remember, like, I was just headbanging like this off to the side, and this other dude had just done that, and he was coming back up, and it was like that, and both of us went down. Oh, we went down like a sack of shit, and like everybody around just immediately grabbed us and hoisted us back up. So like no one, so cool. Like it is, yeah. The next morning, after I got home, when I woke up and walked out, I think my mother had a heart attack. She was like, oh, you've been in a fight, because there was massive black eye, hey, and so it was the and it was from the first concert I went to. Good concert though, man. Good concert. Yeah, Pantera that was just next level. That was when I got into them. That was that was like taking all of the cooler stuff that I sort of was unconsciously drawn to in music and just amping it up to 10. Like every song just had that swagger and, you know, that groove. And that's stuff that I've always liked in music. And I guess it wasn't until I started getting into that sort of stuff, I didn't really know what that thing was that I really liked. But yeah, Pantera, COC, Testament at that time. So Zombie had a bit of groove. It's I don't know, like what aspect of music, I mean, you know, I know for Dan, obviously there's a you know, a groove element there that you're into, but what is the thing that, you know, is there any one particular thing that when you listen to it, music, you go, that's it, that's what I want to hear, you know, like, is it the melody, is it you know, the rhythm, what is it?
I don't have the technical knowledge to describe mine. There's so much. There's so many things that appeal to me, but it's all got to come together. Okay. But with Slipknot, there's one of their songs, a couple of their songs that really, I just love the sound, the way it ebbs and flows. And I love lyrics. I'm all about the lyrics and the poetry, and the more cryptic, the better. I don't like, well, I wouldn't say I don't like, because I do like some songs, but some of them, they're too obvious. So I don't like my own writing if it's too obvious. Do you know what I mean? You try to be a little bit out there. But it bothers me. I really like Kill Pop. I think it's Kill Pop. But the lyrics really, they go against so many things as a feminist. But the sound, most of the lyrics until the end, yeah. And Devil and I love that sound. You describe it. I can't, with my technical knowledge of music, like you guys do, where it drops and I'm in the car. I've nearly crashed so many times because the head just.
Well, right there, that is just showing me that you're responding to the groove in those songs. Like how you're physically reacting and describing the elements that you want. You know, you may not have that term, but the way you're saying this is what I like, to me, all I can
primal.
See it's that groove, you know. And
it is.
Makes a good song. And that's what I'm saying. Groove in any genre, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's got it in there, it's
got that flow. Just that.
It moves people. That's what they love it. You know.
Literally.
Yep.
Yeah, literally.
Yep. A lot of stuff that's like any sort of actor or artist or whatever that has any kind of energy, if you go see them live, a large portion of their set is going to be stuff that gets their audience moving. What people want to do, you know, just get wasted and just bounce off each other, you know, basically. That's you know, and that kind of relaxation of your inhibitions to let you like express that. You know, like it is a little bit tribal. Some of these, you know, like people just a mass gathering, and you know they all get a little bit dumber because they've like smashed a whole bunch of booze or whatever in, but they just let go, you know. And it's like to me, it you know, you stand back and you can see it from a distance. It's a lot of people being pretty free.
And when you watch that from the stage, I was able to see Offspring from side stage when they played on the Gold Coast for one of the festivals. That was just the coolest point of view. Just watching the mosh pit ebb and flow with that music. It was just like, wow. I wanted to be down there, but I was like watching it going, this is a really cool perspective. Awesome. Imagine being responsible. Well, you guys know, and you will even more, I think, when you start playing again together live.
We got excited when like 20 or 30 people were into it.
Yeah.
10, 20,000 people into it. You can't
Can you imagine?
But the whole thing with that is if those people are close enough to you, you can still get that energy, even if, you know, if it's two people or just one person going off their nana, you know, like it's as long as they're close enough for you to feel that energy, then it's you know, as a performer, that's exciting because you're just like, oh yeah, you know, like you're helping someone else have like get that feeling. So and that kind of just I don't know. For me, it was sort of just kept building. You just keep feeding off that. If you see that, makes you play a bit harder, or like just try and make it groove harder, and then if you can see a response, then that eggs you on even further.
Yeah, and as a fan, of the music, this is why I love it when bands play as close to the album version as possible, because that's what everyone's got in their head, and they want to hear those parts. They want to hear that. They want to hear the solo that way. They want to hear the drum fills that way. They want to hear the vocals that way. When bands do, I know it gets boring for bands. They've got to play the same shit day in, day out for 1 or 2 year tour or whatever. But from a fan point of view, if you're going to play at a new city where you haven't been before, or you haven't been for ages, play the stuff how the fans want it.
I think just you're talking about that. Some of the I don't know whether you guys do the same, but YouTube is kind of cool for finding band docos and interviews and all that sort of thing. So I do spend a little bit of time, watching some of this stuff and just trying to get little bits of information. And a lot of the artists that are able to do what you're talking about, play that stuff day in, day out, and still enjoy it, and it's still fresh for them. Like they're constantly, working on trying to just be in that moment. I think when you forget to do that when you're playing, and it just becomes this mechanical thing that you do, and you're not connected, then it would just be like punching a clock. It would be just like any other fucking job, hey.
And you hear that with some of the reviews when people go to concerts, especially for the bigger bands.
Yep.
You might have missed, and then somebody else says, that they did like Energy. And I hate to say it, but the last big band that I went to see, it was like quite a few years ago, but it was almost disappointing. Half the original band wasn't there anyway, but it was just, might as well be seeing Neil Diamond. It wasn't. But you're comparing it to somebody that, played 20, 30 years ago at their peak. So, but you still see that with so many bands, don't you? They're not disappointing their fans when they're out there. So it's certainly not everybody.
And John Farnham, he's retired, I don't know how many times, but you got to give it to that dude. Like, when he goes out and he sings, he just he's really belting it out.
I was at a pub on Caxton Street after the Bon Jovi concert in 2013. That was my last Bon Jovi concert. And the DJ, there was a DJ there. It was packed. He was playing Pretty Ordinary Stuff. And I went up, as I do. Hey, Mr. DJ, look at your crowd. We've just been to a Bon Jovi concert. Can you play something a little bit more apt? So he did go back through that whole rock genre and the voice. And I get goosebumps thinking about it even now. So it's all our generation at this concert. We all knew the song, and it was every voice in there singing along to it. And it was just, it's epic. And I hated that when it first came out when I was 10, 12, my parents loved it. But now it's epic. He was
concert. He was my first concert. Brisbane Entertainment Centre.
Go.
It was Whispering Jack tour. It was fucking amazing.
That would have been, man. That would have been. I love that album.
We were virtually in the back row. It was sold out, right?
That's where I was for my first Bon Jovi concert. Nosebleed, but I think Mick will testify to where the actual nosebleed was for the first concert.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But that it's like I saw Slayer at a couple of those festivals, and the last time I saw Slayer when they had Jeff Hanneman, and I love Slayer. It was pretty tired. Like, it was really, they were just going through the motions.
Yeah.
But when they came back and they had Gary Holt filling in for Jeff Hanneman, whoa, like that dude just brought the intensity, and he took that band and just, they were, it was a different band. It really was. Like, it was a great performance, and he was just, because he was a Slayer fan and he's playing in Slayer.
Yeah.
That's what he brought to his performance, and he's a pretty intense dude. And yeah, man, like, awesome. So, yeah, I think there really are people who can find a way to not make it a job, you know. And I think they're the ones that kind of you know, people still want to pay money to go see.
Yeah,
Would
definitely.
you have considered not going back to Slayer based on the previous experience?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I only saw that concert because it was part of a package festival, and I went, I'll go and see. But I wouldn't have paid to go see him separate. No way. No.
Yeah, right.
No, because it really. But conversely, every time I've seen Megadeth, they've just been on fire. Great. Very professional, but still a lot of energy, you know. Just really, really, really good show. What's the most chaotic concert you guys have seen? So, like, you've gone and see it, and the band or the artist is just teetering on the edge of, like, not pulling it off, you know. Like, it's like high energy and it's awesome, but it's almost gonna be a train wreck.
Oasis.
Yep.
Oasis, easy. They were
Yep.
good, but I was biased. But then there was this cutoff, and it was, I don't remember how long it went for, but they just stopped. And when they stopped, and again it was like, and there was just this one. It wasn't feedback, but I just recall a sound that, you know, reverberating through, and that just went on for a while, and that was it. There was no encore, there was nothing. It was just, yeah. They're not really chaos as far as a crowd goes, but chaos.
Probably System of a Down at Big Day Out really sucked. I was a big fan of them, but when I saw them live, it really sucked live on that show. I don't know. I've seen stuff on YouTube where they were pretty cool, but that Big Day Out performance was like none of them gave a shit, and they were just going through the motions, and yeah, it wasn't good.
The first time I saw Lamb of God, but the band was so professional, so tight, and they were obviously having a great time. But Randy, the singer, who at that time obviously was well into his alcohol addiction, just the whole time he was this close to just like not pulling it off, and it was just a great performance. Really, you know, just because like it was like, is he actually going to get through this song? You know, because he was just so nuts on stage, and like just a great performance. And yeah, I've obviously seen other stuff where it's just like, you know, like I saw Iron Maiden, and that's supposed to be like the biggest, you know, one of the biggest heavy metal bands ever. I saw them, and I walked away after 10 minutes because it was just like, you know, it was like watching my grandfather up there just like playing campfire songs or something. It was terrible, absolutely woeful.
How was that tribute band we saw a few months ago? They were kicked ass. Great.
Yes, they were great. The tribute band that followed them were terrible, but
yeah, we went to see the Metallica Iron Maiden tribute show down in Mudgeeraba, and Iron Maiden guys just kicked the ass out of the Metallica guys. Yeah.
I'm still considering Metallica. It keeps coming up on my feed. I'm like, oh, slim pickings up here.
It might have been. It might have just been an off night for him, and you know, like you never know. Like
Might get to see some other good acts or something up there at the time. So
it was worth seeing the Iron Maiden tribute band because they were great and they were obviously having a good time. So they were loving it, really good. And the singer was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. You know, so like he did not take it. He took the performance seriously, but like in terms of hitting the notes, but everything else was just he's just being a clown, which is great. You know, really having fun.
He was like the classic rock metal version of David Spade, wasn't he? Pretty much.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the dude from Joe Dirt up on stage. Okay. So, best concert that you have ever been to?
That's tough, man. You got anything, Colleen? I'll let you go first. So I don't have to think about it for a couple of seconds.
Well, I really like Pearl Jam, but it was scarred by pregnancy, so I couldn't get up ahead again. You know, protective dad. Probably Stone Sour was pretty good. In Eaton Hill, great venue.
Yep.
And really into them at the time. Yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah.
Again, I could have got closer. Oh, Bush at Festival Hall in late 90s. Insane.
Okay.
So many. How do you pick a favourite? Who's your favourite child?
I'm gonna have to give you a handful, man, because I can't just pick one. It's impossible.
Cool.
So, yeah, okay. First Pantera with you. That's definitely up there.
Yep.
Tea Party. You mean Carl?
Oh, Transmission.
Oh,
that was just unbelievable.
Amazing. Yeah.
Was it Anima or Lateralis that we saw?
What's that?
Was it Anima or Lateralis that we saw?
We saw the Anima tour, which was super cool at festival.
Yeah.
But I love the Fear Inoculum tour you and me saw last February. That was
good. That would be so cool. That would be so cool.
It
was.
Awesome.
It was. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the sound, the production, the production was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Simple Minds, which I saw right after John Farnham when I was 12 years old.
Yep.
That was Entertainment Centre too. They're an absolutely amazing live band. Back in the 80s, they were like killer. Every musician was, one hell of a huge influence on me, like musically, and the drummer is an amazing guy. And I love the Alice in Chains Rania Fog gig we went to. Also, also the Transmission 30th or 25th anniversary we went to as well.
That was awesome. That really was cool. I'm
really jealous of all the gigs you guys get to go to. It's probably the worst thing about living up here in a way.
Oh, no.
Not that I probably would have gone to other than this.
But this is over, 25 odd years. So
most of those shows are from way back. There's a few more recent.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Megadeth, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. That was unbelievable. Actually, one of the concerts that I purely went to just to see if they could do it was Fear Factory at the Mansfield Tavern.
Yeah.
And I was probably 5 feet from the stage, and I was standing there like this because I didn't think that they could play the way they played on the album. So I turned up to be proved right, that it was all programmed, and I was resoundingly proved wrong. It was just unbelievable. The whole band was just like this machine, and the impact of what rehearsal can do for your performance kind of stuck with me. You know, like that was an amazing gig, and you know, at the Mansfield Tavern of all places, which was a pretty shitty dive.
I saw him twice. Once at the Playroom, same tour. I went to both concerts, the Playroom and the Mansfield Tavern.
Yeah.
The Demanufacture tour. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the heyday of that band, pretty much. Yeah. And seeing them at such a small venue with pretty much no one there, it was like a couple of hundred people.
Yeah.
Because they were still pretty unknown in Australia. Like, they had their underground following, but still people don't know who Fear Factory is. But
yeah,
they had their followers. Yeah. And, you know, the reason we had this conversation in the first place. Do you remember I said you guys were having a conversation on Facebook, and I said, hey, we should actually talk about this properly. You guys were discussing. I think it was Justice for All, the production.
Yeah.
And how Cole, you never noticed that there was no bass there until Mick mentioned it.
Never. And so played it that afternoon straight away. And I don't know what it was. When was the last time they brought out a new anything? You know, I just, there's some bands, you know, you can just hear the first, you just know who it is without knowing the song. And yeah, it must have been a while ago. And for me, that was that. Yeah.
Hardwired was like 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Must have been that. But, I mean, I still like them. But that must have been pretty rough for him and for the bass players. So, but Lars didn't. I loved his comment at the end. You know, we just, you know, pump up us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It worked.
And yeah,
definitely people's attention in more ways than one, and that was one of the ways. Take the bass out.
And yet, it you know, when Cliff was there, it was actually like a pretty fundamental part of their sound. Like Master of Puppets has quite a bit of bass on it. So does Ride the Lightning, you know. Even Kill 'Em All's got a fair bit of bass there. But I tell you, if you listen to And Justice for All and then chuck on the Black Album, like you'll wonder what happened to your stereo, hey?
It's a different band. Yeah. It's a completely different band, pretty much. Yeah.
But that album had a massive impact on me. The Black Album was huge. Just never having heard anything that sounded like that before. And then years later, when I sort of started getting into recording my own stuff and understanding the production side of things, Bob Rock is, you know, he did the Black Album, he did Motley Crue's, my two favourite Motley Crue albums, so Dr. Feelgood and the self-title when they got John Corabi, and he did the Cult Sonic Temple.
That's Bon Jovi too, Cole, this guy.
Bunch of Bon Jovi. Did Bryan Adams Waking Up the Neighbours. I love that album. That is no, sorry. Tell a lie. He didn't do that. No, that was old mate Mutt Langer who did Def Leppard. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, it's just so it's not just the notes for me, it's how it sounds as well, like the whole thing. That has a big impact on how I listen to things, because if it sounds pretty shit, it's hard for me to sort of try and find the good aspect of it.
Yeah, relate to that. I think with Justice, it was one that got me, probably like everybody else. I still love it though. I just love that.
If that was the only film clip they ever made and they stopped there, can you imagine the legacy of that one film clip? They should have stopped, because, you know, they were so against making film clips, and then finally they decided to make it with one. And then it was like this epic thing that no one had ever seen before, and no one had ever done since. And then they should have stopped. They should have made their film clip ever again, and it would have been the best film clip in history.
I don't know, man. I thought the Sandman video clip was pretty good. I really like that.
I can't compare that to one, man. Jeez, come on.
Yeah, at the time I thought one sucked.
At the time.
And the machine gun bit in the middle gets boring after a while because it's like, oh, fucking here we go again.
Did they make that when they first released it though? Did they make the video at the same time for one? Was it later?
That was later. It was late in that album's cycle. Yeah, it was not up the front.
Yeah, not when it came out, but I don't think that long after. It was.
When was it released?
88.
80s, yeah.
88.
So how old would they have been then?
20, 25, 24, 25.
So
No.
it's a good.
Isn't that crazy?
Good and arrogant.
They're raw. A lot of them. Because it's always about the lyrics so much that when they get older, wiser, and sober and richer, and there's not as much pain there. It's not quite the same.
That's a good point. Very good point.
You know, they've had their rehab and their recovery, and because pain, you know, the poet needs a pain, and it does bring out a lot. It's so much raw. The alternative, I think, is political. So for good music, it just yeah.
It's a bit hard to be angsty when you're waking up in a mansion with millions of dollars.
It really is. It really is. Who was someone describing the other day? Eminem. You know, and I haven't listened to his stuff for a while. I really liked him in the early 2000s, but you know, someone described him as a boomer, still singing the same stuff, the same issues. You know, appealing to somebody. But I'll not judge. I don't listen to him anymore, so yeah, not deliberately.
But he was the thing for a while, you know. Like Eminem was that was like the you know, the thing to listen to if you wanted to piss your parents off. You know, Eminem, because it was so. Actually, I have to say NWA.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That there was no way I was going to listen to that in my house on anything other than headphones. Hey.
Do you know, I've gone the other way now because I'll listen to some music in the car and my kids are in the car and I'm loving it. I'm going, oh my God, this is a bit embarrassing. This is, you know, full on, and I'll change that. Oh no, do you know what? They've changed that, and it's just parental advisory.
I just tell Jakey that the song's got a little bit of language in there, and he goes, okay.
Yeah, but it's not just the language. I can deal with the language. It depends on the content, what they're actually singing about. So you can get a bit hairy though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. The lyric content. You know, people go on about heavier music and more aggressive music having this you know, some sort of negative connotation or whatever, and then you look at the video clips and some of the language that's in pop music and that's in heavy rotation and it's everywhere, and young boys and young girls are seeing this, and this is forming their opinions of how they're supposed to interact with each other. You know, and you've got that versus landmine has taken my sight. You know, it's, you know, it's really funny. You know, that these people want to try to censor what people consider more extreme styles of music, and if you really listen, a lot of the time they're more relevant in what they're saying, and they're a lot more respectful than what you see, you know, on fucking, I don't know, whatever the morning video hits is that they used to. Do you remember that show, Video Hits?
Oh yeah.
Was that Channel 7 or something? Was it? And then you flick over to Rage, and yeah, you know, like the top 40. I don't know how people can say that that's better for people than, you know, a good dose of Pantera in the morning.
It's I'm just watching Tilly. It's not. It's canned music, a lot of it, isn't it? There's not much to it. There's the occasional, but if you're looking for true talent and true artistic ability, it is in rock. It's in rock, and it's in heavy rock. And I've known people, they just diss that, especially the heavy stuff, like the really heavy stuff that you guys like. And I just find so much once you know, peek behind that cover of the noise and even part of that, there's just so much in that composition. It's for the people that are willing to open their minds to it and listen to it. And there's so much there for me.
That's a really good observation. Hey, you know, because stuff like, you know, I guess as you know, younger people, you more abrasive, and you put all this front up, and you know, you sort of, you know, have this pretense of driving people away, but really you want people to listen to you. You know, Metallica, when they were sort of in that stage there, their lyrics really had, you know, good social commentary. So for all that the music might have been, you know, a bit abrasive, and you sort of, you're going to drive people away, the people that are left are really going to listen to what's being presented. You know, you're going to get through to those people. And then you've got, and I really hate this. Like, I meet someone new at work, you're working with people, and then, you know, usual icebreaker for me is to ask what sort of music they like. And I have to say, I cannot stand it when someone says whatever's on the radio. Like, it just makes me want to peel my eyeballs out. I hate that. And so, okay, all right, you might not be into music. What sort of, you know, movies do you like, or books, or something? I'm trying to, you know, what sort of art do you like? You know, how can I connect with you on some level other than we've just got to wire this up, you know? And, you know, just these passive people that don't have any, well, they just don't seem to me to have very much, you know, they're not passionate about anything. Oh, man, like, how do you live like that? I don't understand.
I can't imagine. Imagine without music, books.
There's plenty of people, but they're into other shit, you know, into gambling, into whatever.
That's the alternative: music and books or gambling.
Because that's going to make you feel good at 4 o'clock in the morning.
They have a big win.
Sports bet, mate. Sports bet.
Do you know, speaking of sports bet, actually, is that the Titans are into the finals, and
I knew Cole was
going to
add something to this topic.
Am I the first to bring up the NRL on that heavy group list?
That's great. I'm happy, to be honest.
That's okay, guys. I've got my yeah.
I need to go to the toilet.
Okay, good girl. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
From a rock and roll mum.
That was pretty cute.
At least she didn't sign it. Can you sign that to me? Is that hunger? She's hiding. I might have to move on, guys.
This one's hungry.
That's hungry. She's been helping herself to the pantry. I've been watching her go back and forth.
That's cool. You're gonna do your mum thing. That's all. That's fine. That's fine.
It's so normal now, COVID era. You know, the kids sneaking in for the video calls, and I said to her, I have to do a Zoom. She goes, "You mean a Zoom call?" Okay then. She's
Get it
four.
right, Mum. Get it right, Mum.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I might have to love you guys and leave you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks
She's
so much.
destroying my environment right now. So
That's all right. Thanks so much for coming on and having a chat about music and stuff that you love. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
thank you so much, Dan. I'm really flattered that you asked me. I feel
I wanted to get your perspective. I know you're a huge music fan. So I want to talk to all music fans.
I do. I love literally getting dragged away. You can go, and we'll come up here and say hello. No. Okay. I will leave you guys to it. Thank you so much.
Stay on the line.
It's been
Stay on the line.
really cool.
We take it.
All right. See you, Cole. Take
Thanks,
it easy.
Cole.
Yeah.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you.
Bye.
We'll talk again. Bye. Thanks.
Definitely. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Have you just got a frozen screen there?
I have, but that's good. She's looking happy. That's the Cole we know and love.
I just wonder if that expression is going to be maintained in the following minutes when she's trying to get Tilly to go to bed.
Probably not. This is cool, man. Like this is one reason why I think she was a little reluctant to kind of speak one-on-one, and she was kind of happy that I suggested the three of us have a chat about music, because it's kind of a little bit more casual and kind of more fun. It's more our dynamic anyway when we're used to back in the day. So that's cool, and I'm glad she was able to do it. I know she's a busy woman with her own business and 4 kids and everything else she's got going on. So
yeah, man. Yeah. It's cool though that people's lives can change like that, and people don't lose that love for music or art or something.
yeah,
like you just having that thing there to or even if it isn't that, like if it's getting out in nature, but just having something that the life. I've just been so flat stick with work. I haven't really had much of a chance to sit down and properly get into doing some mixing. So what I have been trying to do is any spare 5 minutes, I've just been picking up the guitar, and I've just been working on other trying to get my skills up, get my chops up for some of the faster stuff. So. But yeah, I as busy as things get, I still need to be able to do that. And I don't know about you, but driving around, I probably split my time between podcasts and music.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
What sort of podcasts are you listening to?
At the moment, a lot of kind of scientific / what do you call physics kind of UAP phenomenon kind of crossover stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, sort of a lot of the seen in the last few years, a lot of stuff has been coming out about a lot of this, government declassifying a lot of, aerial phenomenon and kind of stuff the fighter pilots have been encountering, and credible kind of, sources and data and stuff that's been captured on radar and all that sort of thing. I'm kind of into that kind of, because I've always felt there was that kind of existence other than just what we perceive here. But now, I've never been a conspiracy theorist or much or anything like that, but I kind of getting more interested now, where a lot of the science is backing up a lot of this stuff that people are experiencing, especially like fighter pilots and all that sort of thing. Got credible people, like very credible sources and stuff, and just talking about stuff that was on their radars and and in the stuff that's been captured with all their flight equipment and stuff. And it's just, for me, I have a pretty big interest in that kind of thing. So just been checking out a few of those podcasts along with all the regular music doco stuff. I watched you remember I sent you that link to the Alice in Chains inauguration into the Seattle Museum of Contemporary Arts or something?
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. Was it pretty cool?
Yeah, it's super cool, man. Like a whole bunch of artists covering their songs, which is smattered throughout interviews with them and them checking out the museum themselves, and it's just a really cool piece that this museum, this arts museum in Seattle put together. Really cool, and some super really interesting covers of some of their songs by some artists that you wouldn't expect. Like, not that I don't really know these artists, but just really cool versions of stuff off Dirt and Facelift, and because I know a few of the more newer songs from the last 2-3 albums. Yeah, but no, it's worth checking out. Really cool. And Jerry talks about a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't have heard him talk about before, in terms of his equipment, and because some of his stuff is in the museum as well, some of his guitars and a few other things.
Gibson did an Icons interview with him. So they did one with Bob Rock, which I watched. That was really good. The Jerry one's pretty good. I'm trying to work.
Kirk Hammett one?
I'm trying to work my way through the Kirk Hammett one.
The Dave Mustaine just did as well.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff in the Dave one. That was already in the VH1 Behind the Music doco, and his biography and that. I've still got to get the Rust in Peace book, but I've been listening to a few different podcasts, not the scientific stuff, probably more just like spiritual sort of thing. But then Friday afternoon coming down the highway, I'm usually wanting to listen to something fairly heavy just to let the week go,
Yeah.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of instrumental stuff at the moment. Sort of going through a bit of an instrumental phase, but funnily enough, when I get home, if I get a chance to listen to stuff when I get home, I've actually found myself sort of going back through my iTunes library, because I've dumped all my CDs on the PC, and finding some of the albums that I maybe sort of only listened to 1 or 2 songs off, and trying to listen to the whole album, like to hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty cool actually, because you hear a lot of stuff that you sort of otherwise would just miss. And I think oftentimes people now, with some of the ways, not all, but some of the ways they choose to consume music, where they just kind of cherry pick things. I don't think they always get the best of what that artist is putting out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You got to give the whole thing a decent listen. Well, any albums in particular you talking about there, or just going through?
James Murphy's album, Disincarnate. So James Murphy was the lead guitarist on the Testament album Low.
Yeah.
And he was in, death metal bands before that, obviously. He put out a solo album called Disincarnate, and I had bought it after reading some Guitar World review, and they reckoned it was awesome, and I bought the CD and I listened to it in the car and I nearly frisbeed it. It sounded terrible. And I never really listened to it for years until I got a decent set of speakers and decent set of headphones, and I sat down and listened to it properly, and it's amazing. Really heavy, massive amount of groove, and that I have to be honest, that's probably one of the things that I really like about death metal is the groove aspect of when those bands are doing it right. Just brutal, absolutely brutal.
Yeah, man. One of the dudes I was talking about doing that from California when I did that Volga display, deep dive with that dude Pete from California, guitarist. He's a big Ola fan too. These guys are all on the Ola, the Swola stuff. They do their little straight over his drum parts he hands out.
Yep.
And he was saying as well, death metal, when those bands break down into a groove, like a lot of the extreme death metal, it's just some of the best stuff you've ever heard,
Well, I mean, that sort of shit really started, far out. The first time I heard Seasons in the Abyss, and I only got into Slayer because sitting in class with Jochen Kness.
yeah. Remember doing
he had Decade of Decadence, the double live album.
Wow.
He'd been trying to get me into Slayer for ages, and I kept telling him it's just the worst rubbish. It's noise. Stay away from me. And then he played me Skeletons of Society, Expendable Youth, and Dead Skin Mask.
And I know, yeah. Yeah, I know. That's what hooked you. I know, yeah.
Done. And yeah, man. And years later, we're watching that the video, I think, at the time, the live, and At Dawn They Sleep.
Oh yeah, kill.
Just the best, man. Intro to Hell Awaits. My God, was it Divine Intervention? The opening for Divine Intervention. As soon as you put the disc on, and then Kerry's there, just the chugs, man. When Slayer are on, there's not too many that can touch them for that brutal groove. It's even War Ensemble has groove all the way through it, and it's ridiculously fast. But I love that aspect of extreme music. Absolutely love it. And I think that's why I'm still listening to it now, at the ripe old age of nearly 46, and we'll continue listening to it.
Most definitely, man. I mean, just talking about going back to Slayer, the point you're making.
Yeah.
Now that I've sort of paid a bit more attention to what Dave Lombardo was doing back, especially on that album, and even live, especially with his live sound.
Yes.
I can really hear his Cuban roots in his thrash playing, especially in his bells. His ride sound and a lot of his bell sounds. I mean, I never really put my finger on that before, but now that I go back to hearing some of that stuff, I can really hear that his cultural background and the music he would have been listening to growing up coming into his thrash drumming playing. And it's pretty freaking amazing, man.
Have you heard the first Grip Inc. album?
I heard a little bit. Yeah, someone was plugging it the other day on something I was listening to, and there's some killer stuff on that. I didn't listen to it all. I haven't gone and checked it out all the way through.
Yeah.
I've heard bits off it, and yeah, there's some crazy stuff on there.
Oh, you should, man. It's a killer album, and it
They only did one thing, right? They just did one thing.
I think they might have done 2 albums.
Oh, 2 albums. Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's the same singer. I think it's the same guitarist, and he wrote some really good riffs. But those riffs with Dave, it's not Slayer, and it's really cool.
He's done so much stuff that's really cool that's not Slayer. He's been involved in cool stuff, so yeah.
I couldn't get into Tomahawk and Phantomus and all that stuff. So like that to me, I've tried, but I can't find the groove in that. That's I don't think I'm wired right to understand that stuff. Eh?
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, hats off to the other dude as well, Paul Bostoff. But no, for me, Dave Lombardo is. It's like Zombie, is like Ivan and John in Zombie. For me, it's Ivan's. When I think of Zombie, I think of Ivan. Just like when I think of Slayer, I think of Dave.
Yeah.
I don't think of the other dudes to replace them or, whatever. So
because,
I mean,
because those individuals are involved in those like iconic, bits of music that you really like.
Yeah, I mean, I love a lot of their stuff without them, but my favorite stuff is with them. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's. I think there is something to be said for the chemistry that those original lineups have, with bands when they start and they do any sort of body of work and they have a sound. I don't think people are really interchangeable as much as, look at Guns N' Roses. They got Matt Sorum in, and you read in Slash's biography, and he's saying that he loves Matt. Obviously, done a lot of work with him, but the sound, the band completely changed.
Yeah.
When they got Matt in, and because he's a different sort of player, and he feels things differently to Adler, and I've gone back and listened to Appetite, and for a rock record, it does have a bit of groove on there. Hey.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. I think that's why I fell in love with that album. It was those 3 albums are the first hard rock metal albums that I fell in love with. Was Hysteria, Appetite, and Justice.
The Holy Trinity.
Well, it's just progressively getting heavier, pretty much.
But it's just quality stuff, man. And even Hysteria, there's groove. There's a lot of groove on Hysteria, and and that was massive on the radio. So so many people got exposed to that. It's just, it's awesome, really good.
You've got to take your hat off to Rick Allen. I mean, to come back from that and find a way. I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Very clear vision of what he wanted to do, and I find people like that who just don't let things like that slow them down. It's like, okay, this has happened, and what's next? Not, well, this has happened, and it's this and that, and and all of that. I just kept freaking powering. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I just love the fact that generally, unfortunately, bar Steve Clark passing away, Def Leppard still sounds like Def Leppard. Even now, for a bunch of old bastards, they still sound like Def Leppard.
I think Phil's six-pack is even tighter than what it was when he was like 30 years old now.
Well, yeah, he's full vegetarian, hasn't drunk in, like, I don't know, like nearly 30 years or something like that. Just, loves guitar and working out. Yeah,
man, that's it. Yeah, man. So those three albums, I'm pretty sure Justice for All was in my CD player for at least 12 months, without taking it out, almost. It would have been something like that. Crazy. I can't believe that the thing still worked, the actual CD, after that long. But yeah, got a few playthroughs.
I think at that stage, I still had tapes, so I would have played all of those tapes, and they would have all been copies until my tape player ate them, which it had a habit of doing. I dreaded buying albums because it was like a fucking roulette as to how many plays I would get out of it before the tape player would just munch the fuck out of them.
Yeah, that was the gamble with the tape deck. Yeah. And the first CD plays were even more frustrating because, you just slightly tap them and they'd just skip and jump and bounce. It'd be so annoying. And then you remember you could buy the anti-shock ones and they did jack shit. They didn't do anything.
Did you see that thing on Facebook where it's like, don't text while driving? Meanwhile, in the 90s, and then it just showed, those car CD libraries.
Oh yeah.
Like the packs that people would have. Like, can you remember changing freaking CDs while you were driving? that was like an exercise in like taking your life into your own hands. Yeah,
or your tape getting chewed in the car and you're trying to pull the tape out.
Trying to stop it. Oh man, yeah. Technology is wonderful. I like being able to get in, turn the car on, and I can just tell Siri what I want to hear.
I forgot to ask Cole because remember she told when we first started chatting, she was talking about some speeding ticket, and I wanted to ask her what she was listening to when she got the speeding fine because it would have been a guarantee she was listening to some tunes, I reckon. And I remember with me in the Gemini when I got my one that I lost my license on was I was playing Zombie in the car going up the hill to Mudville. Pretty sure I was going to jam with you guys at Yockin's place. I think that's when it happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can remember in my first car, my Datsun 200B, that I was driving down the hill towards my parents' place through Clearwater, and I had Seasons in the Abyss. What in Seasons? No, South of Heaven going.
Oh, yeah.
And the back window just blew out.
You would have shit your pants.
I did, man. I did. I just crested the hill and I'm there like, and then the window just went boom.
That's so metal, man.
My mum she laughed at me so hard because she reckoned that when I got out of the car, I was shaking trying to light my cigarette and I couldn't light my cigarette. Like I was just shaking that much. That was unbelievable. Like, and it's purely a temperature thing, and like the car was, not the best car, and so, but the fact that it chose to blow out while I was cranking Slayer was, you're right, man. That was pretty fucking metal.
Oh,
that was pretty cool.
That's cool. Same thing happened to me on Smith Street when my windscreen blew out.
Oh man!
I don't think I've ever sworn that loud in one sharp statement ever since.
Did the swearing come out of your mouth or out of your ass?
Both, I think.
Oh man! So you're just cruising along and the thing just blew out, is it?
I'm just cruising at like 75, 80 down Smith Street, and the whole windscreen just shatters. Yeah. I don't remember what I was. I just don't remember what music I was playing. Well, I would have been playing something.
Oh man!
It was probably shattered by off Cowboy Some Hell.
Boom. Oh man.
It's funny. This is the first time we're actually hearing these experiences we've had that kind of parallel.
I remember driving down the highway towards Rabina. It's years ago, man. And I was just cruising in the middle lane, and I can't remember what I was listening to. It would have been cranking something heavy and just in the zone, just putting along, just not wanting to get a speeding ticket. And this piece of shit fucking car, I've just seen in the rearview mirrors come weaving through the traffic like this, and it was just a fucking bag of shit. And it just fucking got ahead of me, and one of the rear wheels fucking shot off. This car's just fucking and sparks coming out everywhere. Like, I thought that was pretty metal. I'm glad it didn't happen to me, but it was. I will say it was extremely surprising to see this wheel fucking shoot off. Like, it's lucky it didn't hit anybody. But yeah, this utter piece of shit that old mate thought he was fucking killing it in, and then it just went, fuck you. It was not Black Sunshine.
Oh man, remember? That reminds me of those days we were hanging out. When we were 18 and we used to just go out a lot. The party, the edge.
Yep.
Party, the edge. Just go to Surface, whatever. Go to the bottle shop, get something.
Beer garden.
Yeah, the beer garden. I mean, what did we see? We used to remember seeing Screaming Jets at the fucking Surface Beer Garden. How loud that was.
That was
I thought
ridiculous.
my ears were gone at the end of that show.
Yeah.
It was like the amount of volume through that PA was like probably suitable for festival hall, and it was in a room for like 200 people. Man.
The guy mixing it was probably like halfway down the street.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. What else did we see locally? Wasn't much really.
The Poor.
Oh yeah,
the Poor.
I don't know if did I go to the Poor? Oh, I might have.
Well, that was down at the Playroom.
Yeah. saw a little bit in the playroom, but I mean, that was how Deliverance GM started, was the playroom. So
Jam nights.
that's our heritage, So I remember how we were always, looking at the front room where we had the jam night and then the pool tables in the bar. We always go out in the back room and say, yeah, one day we'll get on that stage, man. One day, and it was like, not long before they tore the place down, it happened. So at least we finally got on the main stage.
Yeah, definitely. And that was actually a pretty cool show.
It was cool sound. I remember we got a recording off the desk that we still got some of the demos of, or the live set off.
Yeah.
Wish we had all of it. I don't know where it went, but at least we got a couple of tracks. Better than nothing. But yeah, I remember it was damn cool. It was the first time we had proper monitors. I remember that, and we were like looking at each other, going, "Whoa, we can hear everything."
Yeah. Better than the recordings we tried to do in the shed underneath the blanket of doom with your fucking boombox.
Yeah, the same one that chewed the tapes. But that boom box served us pretty well in terms of
it did.
Getting a bunch of ideas that we thought they were cool at the time.
We wrote a lot of shit on that thing, hey.
There's still, to this day, there's still one. Remember how you know about this? We've spoken about it, that compilation riff tape that elusively gone missing. That I put all the gold on from the 50 other tapes we had.
Yep.
And I can still hear some of those riffs in my head that we never used. That I still think are like, just like, top shelf, heavy groove masterpieces, which may or may not ever come back into existence in another form of that riff. But those spewing, there's so many cool riffs on that tape. I remember.
I guess the closest we could get to
full song at all. So just riffs. Yeah.
I think the closest we could get to is if you could remember some of those grooves and get in a room and try to make some of those sounds. But we'll
some of the damn riffs, but how it translates to your fingers on the fretboard is a different thing. But some of them are still floating around in my head. So that's how good they were. And or much of the impact they made maybe is more the point. I don't know, but
yeah.
So I think if it made that much of an impact, they were good riffs. So yeah, this is like 95, 96 before we started the band. So there was a lot of good fucking music coming out back then, and I think we were very much influenced by that period between 90 and. I've spoken to this a few times on the heavy groove list thing about how that period between 90 and 94, 95 just had an array of killer releases that was never ever seen again. Just crazy shit, like from Cowboys from Hell kind of all the way up to late 94 stuff with like, COC and Pantera and stuff. So like that 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, getting into 95, hundreds and hundreds of classic album releases in the heavy groove metal kind of stuff that we were into back then.
Yeah, I just wonder if that isn't still happening. We just don't hear about it. Because there's so much music being released now.
It's definitely there. Some of it's definitely coming. Yeah.
So Spotify. Sometimes I just put Spotify on and just let it do its thing with the suggestions, and I've come across some cool bands that way. Hey.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't otherwise have heard. That are I don't want to just listen to the same music I was listening to when I was like 18. Like I want to listen to that, but I also want to hear new music as well. I think that's important to not just close your ears to what's out there, because I've come across stuff which is really it's really like pretty, whether it's whatever it is, there'll be some aspect of it that's quite influential, and it's so yeah, well, I'm not a huge fan of feeding into these algorithms. Spotify does occasionally throw some stuff up where it's just like, damn, where the hell did these people come from? And then you look into it and they've been around for like fucking 10 years, and it's like, oh wow, there's just such a volume of music in the world. And we know, this tiny speck of it.
Yeah.
I have to, unfortunately, start wrapping it up, man, because I have work tomorrow. Unfortunately, I haven't won the lotto.
As have I not either.
So, thank you for putting this together.
Cheers, man. Super fun conversation with Cole and then with you for this second bit. I've kept the tape rolling because there was some cool shit. I was glad I didn't stop it because there was some cool shit we spoke about. So I'll include it as well, because especially the stuff about us blowing up our car windscreens.
So you're going to edit some of this so that you can take some of the waffle out, or are you going to leave the waffle in?
I don't know. People like, people. I won't say everyone, but some people like natural flowing conversations. Unless they have specific requests from either one of you to cut this bit out or cut that bit out, I'll just leave it as is.
Nah, man. I accepted who I was a long time ago, and I accepted who my friends are a long time ago. So it doesn't worry me. I think it's cool. People get to see people just being people. Yeah. I like that. It's
that's what these long form conversations are about. If you start chopping, unless there's technical problems, that's different. You got to edit, but or something super embarrassing that obviously may happen along the way. That someone requests to, can you please cut out that 30 seconds? That's all fair enough. But even inane waffling is can be entertaining to some people.
Technical difficulties. Someone's synapse is shorting out. Oh man. I think it's. Sorry.
Hey, before you go,
yeah,
I've seen. I don't know if you've seen this come up on your feed online. The new Australian Metal Festival coming up next year. I think it's called Uncaged or something.
No, can you forward something?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne show festivals in January. It's kind of like around that big day out time it would have been back in the day, in late January. But if it's all Australian and local acts, we should see what we can do about doing a set. That'd be damn cool.
Yeah. Is the electric kit and the brick gonna make an appearance?
Shit, yeah. At least the whole brick wall will be behind me and in front of me. So maybe just like a little courtyard set up.
What did you think of that drummer that was bouncing on the springs? His whole kit was bouncing.
You know what I was trying to do? I was so trying to find the I was going to make a little meme up with the freaking that System of a Down song, that Pogo song, because that so fitted that.
I thought it was awesome, man. Like he really had that bounce going, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
A bit different to Tommy Lee's rotating drum kit, but
Yeah, that's another thing. On Netflix, there's a doco about drummers, which is pretty entertaining. Interview a whole bunch of for example, Taylor Hawkins, Chad Smith's on there, and a bunch of other kind of well-known drummers. A few really cool female drummers are on there as well.
yep.
And yeah, it's worth checking out. It's called Count Me In, I think it's called.
Okay.
But yeah, on Netflix at the moment, it's pretty well done. I really like that other one that you, what's that Australian metal band? There's a
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Name's but
Parkway Drive.
Yeah, Parkway Drive. That was a damn cool documentary, following them around.
I liked seeing the human aspect of them, and just seeing how they were doing it all themselves.
Yeah.
And that poor schmuck guitarist was he had no idea what he was doing, and he's just doing his best.
Yeah, trying to manage everything now. It would have been driving him nuts, man. And
but that's I don't know about you, but that's to me that's very inspiring. You know,
yeah.
to see that sort of local success that just comes out of we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to give it a crack.
Yeah, for sure. But the commitment those guys have, yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah. I don't think Energex are gonna let me get out and do something like that.
Unless we're all on stage wearing Energex uniforms, maybe they'll allow that. Kind of like the Slipknot overalls, but we'll do the Energex overalls.
If it has something to do with safe energy supply, perhaps they might let us do a bit of advertising like that. But otherwise, someone would be saying something about improper use there somewhere.
Just don't blow out the work band's windscreen tomorrow morning, man. On the way.
In the morning when I'm drinking my coffee, actually, I have to say I'm normally listening to my Steve Vai podcast, and just trying to get ready for the day and have some kind of a proper frame of mind for dealing with some of the wonderful team members that we have.
I'll leave it on that positive note, man. Cheers, dude, for this conversation.
Thank you.
I know it's late. It's 10:30 at night now. You have to get up super early, as I do. Well, I'm not as early as you, but still, what can we do? This is how it is. But cheers for the chat on the Heavy Groove list, and it was super cool hanging out with you and Cole for a bit.
Yeah. I'm happy to do it again and answer some more formal questions if you want to talk about stuff that's probably specifically more related to where the guitar developed from, and I'd be interested in sort of exchanging those questions and hearing a bit more about where the formative parts of your drumming style. So I think that could be a cool conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. We'll definitely talk more about our stuff specifically and all that sort of thing as well. That'd be cool. Yeah, sweet, man. Have a good night. Yeah,
you
man.
too, man. Have a good one.
See ya.